Cydney, can I mention, I don't know what the time frame is here, but there's a couple of things I'd like to mention to you article-wise.
Yes.
And I will also send you a PDF of a book that I have permission to distribute.
Okay.
Because the book is written by Layla Miller. It's called Primal Loss and Now Adult Children of Divorce Speak Out. And she took stories from people. 70 people started to write to her anonymously. She compiled them. She asked 8 separate questions. The myth of the divorce industry, and it is an industry, it's big business that needs to be regulated, but it's unregulated at this point. The myth of the divorce industry and those who advocate for easy divorce is that children are resilient. Children are happy if their parents are happy. And in this book, Primal Loss and Now Adult Children of Divorce Speak Out, these children are saying, you have no idea. You have no idea what this did to me. But you know what, Cydney? Children are resilient. Children are happy if their parents are happy. So now...
Well, you're forcing them to survive.
You're forcing them to survive, and they're not talking about the trauma. So I will send you that book in case anybody wants it. It's a free distribution that you can give it out. The other thing about, I've got 2 other things, and this one is going to be very important, but the Russian effort to abolish marriage. This is an article from the Atlantic magazine in July of 1926.
Oh.
And this is something you'll have to read. The Russian effort to abolish marriage. Atlantic magazine, July 1926. You can Google it, it will come up to you. It talks about the devastation that was taking place in Russia. And unilateral divorce had already been implemented. Abortion rates were increasing. It was destroying society. They had a national debate. Because this happened to be like, do we now recognize unregistered marriages as being registered? And what they did, the funny thing was is that they had an illegitimacy problem. But now they say, well, unregistered marriages are actually marriages. So they decreased illegitimacy by changing the word. We have no illegitimate children. What do you mean you have no illegitimate? But it talks about the devastation that no-fault divorce caused. And the thing is, the Bolshevik laws for divorce are the same laws that we have in the state of Texas. It's the same laws that we have basically throughout the United States of America, but we implemented it gradually. And abortion followed, so that became a national issue. We focused all of our attention on that.
Oh my gosh, yes, and I'm sorry not to interrupt you, Jim. Planned Parenthood, that ding, 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 because that's what's getting all the attention with pro-life people and saying that, baby killers and whatnot. And it seems like, we're ignoring a huge elephant in the room that is the ease of divorce. And it seems like, well, because it's so easy to get into it, it's easy to get out of it. And people are not, I tell you, if there's any advice that I can give anyone is vet. Thought I was doing a good job vetting.
Bet your potential spouse.
You almost want to become like the NSA with vetting someone, to make sure, Chris Rock, it reminds me of a joke Chris Rock did eons ago when he says the crust of a person, he used a different word, the crust of a person. When you really get to know that person, you'll see a completely different side. The representative has gone home. And some people can keep that representative in place for a long time. Vet that fool for a year. I'm just, because the problems that you will have after the fact are enormous. And I'm a fan of love. I hate to see, anybody who knows me knows I'm a hopeless romantic, and I hate seeing love fall apart. I hate it with everything in my spirit. But vet. If you can find people that have known that person since kindergarten, talk to them. Ask for references from their previous people that they've dated and whatnot. And other lifestyles, some very adult lifestyles. And I'm not talking about being a lesbian or gay or anything like that. I'm talking about other adult lifestyles. They ask for references before they get involved with the so-called whatever name they give that person. And I'm talking about BDSM stuff, okay? They get references before they go ahead and get involved in these relationships versus, oh, this just feels good. Let's just go ahead and jump the broom, get married, all that kind of stuff. And then 5 years later, you're like, I can't stand this person because of whatever. I'm sorry, I'm kind of on my soapbox and my blood pressure is going up. But we have to do a better job with educating our kids, because when they go through this, and you guys can speak more on this because I'm just running off emotions here, you're setting them up to repeat this when they become adults.
It's transgenerational.
And have children.
So when you get divorced, you're not just affecting your children, you're affecting your grandchildren. Nobody talks about that. When you get divorced, and you know, a grandparent tends, often, they even love their grandchildren more than their children.
I know.
But when you get divorced,
That was my grandfather.
That's a different show.
but when you get divorced, you are not just affecting the spouse and your children, you are affecting your grandchildren.
All the family.
Yes.
You're affecting everybody, really.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
affecting the
Friends.
friends,
Community.
the extended family in every direction.
Godparents,
Yes, and.
Society.
so true.
Yes.
And to just continue on what you were saying, the vetting process. What if you do, and you end up in a position like, I never thought that we would be in this position?
Yes.
And so what do you do once you are in that place? Remember that these are human beings.
Yes.
These kids are human beings, and I can tell you when I went into mediation, we did mediation later in the process for us, and the mediator asked me, so what is your goal today? You know, when we first got started, and I said, I want what's best for my kids. And she said, do you know how rare you are? Nobody says
I
that.
can imagine so.
And so to just
is
say,
like
okay,
any
well,
other
and a lot of times when we do find ourselves, let's say they didn't plan on getting pregnant. Let's say they're not even married. Let's say, you know, it didn't go the way you planned. You can still make good choices even in the midst of that situation. And so
Right.
many people who have done the hard thing, who have stepped up, manned up, womaned up, whatever, and they are being the parent, and they are not being vindictive, they're not being vengeful, they're not being selfish, they're not being, you know, they're not trying to alienate the children or manipulate them and use them and all these different things, they end up so much better off in the long run, because if they didn't have the maturity before, they end up with it later, and
Right.
I think a lot of people look at that like that's a bad thing. It's such a good thing. And
Yes.
so just if you find yourself in that situation, walk through it with some dignity and with some class, and you know, and
When
and
they
do,
go low, you go high.
Yes, exactly.
yes.
And take the high road, exactly. And in the end, when you do that, even if the other parent does not, then you are setting a good example for your kids.
Yes.
And that is so needed. So with watching my parents, you know, growing up with divorced parents, they didn't fight. And I so appreciate that. The fact that while I didn't see one of my parents much, that was one thing I didn't have to deal with. I'm grateful that they did that one less thing I had to deal with. You know?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, you know, do the hard thing. Do the hard thing.
And that's a challenge. It's a challenge to do some reflection and introspective dives into, you know, how you got here into this situation and why you're behaving that way. And as a nation, we could definitely do a better job with making sure that, you know, you have to think of others. It's not just about you. You have to think of others and the potential impact that it will have. And if it does have, you do have to go your separate ways, just try to make it as easy of a process, and it's going to be difficult. Try to make it as easy as possible.